Are you planning on racing Ironman Maryland this year? Well, if so, this is the video for you because in it, myself as a YouTuber and a very experienced coach and Ironman Maryland legend will talk through the swim, the bike, the run, transition, and all you need to know to set yourself up for a beautiful race day. So, who are we and how are we going to help you? Well, my name is Steven Moody, or Coach Steve. I'm an Ironman U certified coach and very more recently a YouTuber who does race reviews of 70.3 and Ironman events around the world to help make sure that people know what they do. But how do I do that? I reach out to kind of cool people I know who know courses, who either race them or organize them, etc. And I ask all the questions that you have as a first timer or an experienced person doing a course for the first time. That's how I get the info. And in this, I am absolutely delighted to be with Coach Tim, who is an Ironman legend, Ironman Maryland legend. He's very much associated with this race, and knows this course inside out. Tim, how are you getting on?
I am doing great, man. I'm actually looking forward to this. This is gonna take, all the stuff that I do at the race to alleviate the tensions and stresses of the athletes, and we're finally gonna put it in digital.
No, absolutely. And how long have you been associated with Ironman Maryland?
So I've been leading the talks clinics, the first timer coach there since 2017. But I was racing in Cambridge long before Ironman Maryland existed.
Fantastic. So you know the course, you know the logistics, you know it all, huh?
I don't know about know it all, but I know quite a bit. We got about maybe 15,000 miles on the course down there over the years.
Fantastic. I know as I said, you're very well known in the circuit, so we're absolutely delighted to have the chat. So let's go and dive in, if you excuse the pun, and we'll start off with the Ironman Maryland swim. 2 lap course. What can people expect on the day, Tim?
Yeah, it is a two-lap course. This looks like last year's course map. So it's showing a counterclockwise swim. Um, just to let people know, the course direction flips here at Ironman Maryland, depending on what the tide charts say. So the way we're looking at it right now, the line that's at the top moving up from right to left, that's furthest out in the river. We dictate the direction of that based on the tide, so that when you're in the deepest part of the river, you have the current aiding you as opposed to having to swim against it. Um, the course is sheltered on both sides. You can see the one peninsula here on the left by the start and finish. There's another one on the right that you can't see on the screen. So it creates kind of a half moon harbor. So water tends to not be super choppy. Um, and generally, the only current that you deal with that isn't helpful is when you're swimming across the two shorter legs, because you get a little cross current out in the main potty there.
All right, this is where you'll go onto your second loop, isn't it? As in, so for last year you went out, follow my little red dot, and then you came down here and then around, and then the second loop is out and exit. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, we're one of the only races that you do two loops, but you don't get out of the water and run over a timing mat.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, in years past, which we didn't do it this year, but in previous years, we had an in-water timing system that the athletes would swim under to record lap one and lap two. But this year we had some technical difficulties with it, so we didn't have it. But it should be back for this year.
Oh great, yeah, yeah. No, I did. They had that I did 73.3 Duisburg in Germany. Had it. It's very
Yeah.
simple, little yoke and swim. So it's a so there's no Aussie exit. You will continue under the water. By the way, I've been doing a lot of Australian reviews, and I'm
I
absolutely
can tell.
horrified that they actually don't do any Australian exits. I thought that false advertising. Um,
That's it. Well, they don't say Barbie either, but but yeah, and they don't drink Foster's beer, but we think they do.
I know. It's like these people need to watch more of their own movies. Um, water temperature, will it be wetsuit legal, or is it
Yeah,
usually?
yeah, it's typically right on the edge, but usually is wetsuit legal. The biggest definer there is because it's late in September. Oftentimes there's a storm front out on the coast in the ocean, and usually if we have one, that really drops the water temperature. So, like 2 years ago, the water temperature dropped 7 degrees race week because of a storm front, but it is usually wetsuit legal.
Fantastic. Cool. So it looks like a simple swim. Now, I have to ask a question because what about things living in the water? Can people expect to meet things in the water, Tim, or
Yeah, so I'm assuming you're talking about the jellies or the jellyfish.
I just got to ask a question.
That's it. That's the question I get most race week. So, um, just for a little reference, we've had Ironman Maryland for 10 years, and they had it for about 15 years before that as a local race called Chesapeake Man. Um, they had jellyfish 3 times for Ironman Maryland out of 10 and 3 times out of 15. So they are the exception and not the rule. But we live in a social media society, so it gets blown up on social media all the time. I joke with people at the race. I say 1 year someone's little dog's going to get picked up by an eagle because we have a lot of eagles there, and then everybody will say, "Don't come there because there's birds that eat your dogs," and they'll forget all about the jellyfish.
Yeah, I know. Again, it can, but
But
and again,
but we
yeah, no,
but we
it's
haven't had them the last 2 years. The last 2 years we've had absolutely none.
fantastic. No, well, that's good to know. As I said, I really like the sound of this bike course. So now that you've reassured me on the jellyfish, and we might see you next year.
Well, I
Perfect.
tell people in the years we have had them that they're an irritant if you've never been stung. For most people, it feels like razor burn.
Yeah.
But you get out of the water, you run into transition, you go through all your stuff, you get on your bike, and then you're like, am I eating? Am I pacing? Am I drinking? Am I passing? And you totally forget that it ever happened because you just have so many other things going through your head.
100%. I got stung in Arman, Florida. I
Yep.
got stung across the face, and again at the time it was well, actually, I didn't notice at the time, and then it's going like come out of the water, and you go like, and I went, oh,
Yep.
and but as you said, like on the bike, I'd more like nothing, a lot more to worry about, like 112 mile, okay, mile bike, as in a little bit of a tingle on my cheek. Um,
Absolutely. And those are the same ones. Those are the Atlantic sea nettles that we have, same exact ones.
yeah, Grant, they're absolutely fine. Look at me, I'm still beautiful. Um,
Yeah, at least as much as you were before anyway.
Okay, cool. So it's also all right. So that's the main swim course size. It is a rolling swim start. Is that correct?
Yes, it is a rolling swim start. We have a big corral set up and we have volunteers that are holding up swim times, like most races. So it is self-seated. And then when you get up to the beach area, it breaks into 3 lines and we go 3 athletes at a time, basically every 5 seconds. And the timing mat is on the beach about 3 feet from the water's edge. So your time doesn't start until you're getting wet.
Fantastic. Perfect. Cool. And the cutoff time to get the 2 laps done out and out of the water is 2 hours, 20 minutes.
That's
Um,
right.
just in terms of what you call it, Coach Tim was talking about there. This is not Maryland because it's kind of, but it's a really cool aerial shot of Nicked, because as you said, there's 4 lanes here, but it gives an idea about what Coach Tim was talking about. That that's where your corral is. That's where you'll go into, and it's based on your estimated swim time. And again, here are your very nice volunteers who have given up their time, by the way. So make sure you say thank you. You have a few minutes before you get in there when things all start, or a few seconds. Say thank you. The beep will go off. They'll lift up their arms, and you go in. These 4 are already off, and their day is started. The rest you just have to stand there nervously and get ready. And as Tim said, that's where this timing mat is. And this is key as well, Tim, because a lot of newbies will sort of go, oh, I'm going to tighten the cutoff time. I'm not a great swimmer, so I'm going to put myself into the sub 1 hour corral. Is that a good or a bad idea, Tim?
I definitely would not advise that. The cool thing about rolling starts is that they space out very quickly and they're less combative than like the old mass swim starts that we used to do. So seating correctly, one, it allows you to have a much more enjoyable experience because you're not getting run over or swimming over people or getting beat up on. Um, but two, it doesn't help to seed earlier because it's based on your time from when you cross the mat to start to when you cross the mat after. So if you go early but you still swim 2:30, it's still a DNF just the same. So seed yourself correctly. You'll have a way more enjoyable experience. And you would tend to be around people since they're of similar skill level. You also tend to make friends for the whole day, right? Because you see them
Yes.
pretty much the whole day and they become best friends afterwards.
Well, that's it. Again, like that's a trick I always say. I get my guys to talk to people. So what time do you think you're going to be? I think I'm around 90 minutes. You go, grand. Okay, that guy should be going in beside him because I'm 90 minutes. And then you form your almost your little own draft pack because you're all swimming roughly around that level. And then you're staying on each other's feet. And as you know, Tim, like that is key to a good Ironman day out. Conserving energy in the swim and all the rest. And that's again, drafting in the swim 100% encouraged. Not on the bike. We will talk about that later. So yeah, seed yourself honestly, and it sets yourself up. And as Tim said exactly, like it moves away from the kind of the mass lemmings type mass starts heading for, which used to frighten the absolute bejesus out of was it people and put them off our cool sport. It's smooth. It's a really nice way of getting people in the water. It's also a nice sort of just ease start to what is going to be a big day for you. Any other last minute tips on the swim before we go into T1, Tim?
Yeah, so assuming that the swim direction is the same as it was this past year, where you enter is a very soft sandy beach, and it's a very gradual drop. So you could actually walk out, run out, whatever you want to do, up to about 30 yards. So it's not like you're diving right in, elevating your heart rate. So you can choose your approach based on your comfort level with the swim, right? If you're a competitive swimmer, it gets quickly deep enough to dolphin dive and be able to really take off. But if you need a little time to collect yourself, the shore and the terrain allows that.
Fabulous. Excellent. And actually, the exiting the water, is it onto a pontoon, onto a beach, or how do the guys get out of the water?
Yeah, so it's actually a boat ramp. You'll swim into a boat ramp area, and we have volunteers in the water um, up to their waist or up to their chest. So to help you get vertical, right? Because after you've been horizontal for a while, you stand up. Some people get woozy. Um, so we have rows of volunteers that are in the water to help you get vertical and help you work your way up the boat ramp to the wetsuit peelers.
Fantastic. Ooh, there is wetsuit peelers.
Oh, there are. And here's a little side trick for you. I encouraged a bunch of people to do it this year, and it was a lot of fun. Something I got into the habit of doing because we used to call them strippers in the old days. We called them
Hmm.
wetsuit strippers, right? But is I take $1 and I put it in my try kit for when I go to the wetsuit stripper and they take it off, and I flash $1 to give them a tip. And it usually makes everyone laugh in the area. It's a lot of fun, really breaks the tension. I highly recommend it.
I hope you don't do a little dance at the same time and hand it over $1 now, Tim.
No, no, the strippers are the ones that are supposed to dance,
Oh
right?
yeah, sure. Look, we don't even have peelers or strippers in our, and was it in the European races? I'm very jealous of this, and whenever I go race in America, I always feel like a little bit of a VIP. You got bike
Yeah.
catchers sometimes, you got wetsuit
Yep.
peelers slash strippers. You got it's like valet parking. It's awesome. I mean, I'm all for it. I'm definitely going to ask the Europeans to bring this on.
It's the
Um,
pro experience, man. It's wonderful.
that's it. As again, all was it Americans love that customer experience. I like it. So.
That's it.
We are running into transition. It is a clean transition in terms of that Ironman used their transition bags. Is that correct?
That's correct. And you will also our bags are on the ground. Some races they hang, some they're on the ground. Ours are on the ground. And what I tell people is when they come the day before the race to drop their bags, you will physically put your bag in the location it is going to be that you'll get it from. So drop it, go out to the swim exit, figure out what your path's going to be. Same with the other things because it's going to be right where you left it.
Fantastic. And just actually before we hop into that, just explain what the bag system is for completely people are completely new to Ironman races. As I said, because there's so many people racing and we're on a clean transition. So if you've done a previous triathlon, normally you have your bike and you've your runners and your helmet beside the bike because there's room. Whereas the transitions there's a couple of thousand people there. You need it nice, it slick and easy and no kind of excess. So Ironman has this bag system, which is a blue bag and a red bag. Blue bike to run. Sorry. The swim is blue is swim to bike.
Swim to
Sorry, I
bike.
got that wrong. And then red is bike to run. So in the blue bag, when you come out, as in when you get this is you'll take off your wetsuit. Sorry, you have someone else take your wetsuit off for you. You put and you'll put your wetsuit into the blue bag, and you'll put on your helmet, which will be in the blue bag. And there's details here about what is we recommend you put in the bag. Um,
Mhm.
and then this is essentially everything you need to go from your swim to your bike, or transition one, as we call it. It sounds a little bit complicated. It's actually not. It makes life actually really simple. And there's a little video in the comments below about shows you how to do it. But I'm more interested in picking Coach Tim's brain on in terms of the flow of the transition. Is there a long run up out of the water into transition? And what does the transition area look like? Is it in a car park? Is it compact?
Yeah. So it's a parking lot or a car park. We have two separate tents, one for men, one for women. Obviously, and since it's a full Ironman, we allow complete changes. From the swim exit to the tent is 30 yards, 40 yards. It's very short. Um, you come running in, you grab your bag. Your bag is less than 20 yards ahead of you. But you come up and you hang a left into a barriered area, find your row, grab your bag, and then continue to follow the barriers. And then it'll split into the men's or women's tents. It's less than a minute if you're running it. I mean, it's very close.
Excellent. And then once you've got your wetsuit in your bag, your helmet on, you can touch your bike and you run to what we call the mount line, and you have to get across that before you can actually get onto your bike. Quick tip from me on that. Don't do what everyone does. Everyone goes literally over the line and stops, and then you got everyone, and there's all
Yeah.
this and there's a big pile up. I always tell, run an extra few yards, because then you've got a lot more room and you can actually swing your leg over the bike, and you can sort of need to lean the bike over. You've got a room, not when everyone's stuck there. Don't make that mistake. So, what's your other top tip, either for Maryland specific or just Ironman racing? What would be your top tip for a newbie for them to nail in T1?
Ooh, so I got one for each. So for any newbie, everybody lays their stuff out, packs their bag, they dump it all out, they lay it out again, they pack their bag. You look at it 13 times. And um, I tell people, take an index card and write on that card the items that are in your bag and the order that you would put them on. Because typically, we all have a pattern in the way that we do things. So write it down in that order, because many people go into the changing tent and they're lucky enough to get a volunteer. And if you hand the volunteer the card, they will hand you everything in the order that it is
Nice.
written on that card. And Ironmans are all about streamlining. The less you have to think about something, the better your day is going to be.
That's You guys have a completely down as you got. Can I write on the bottom of the index card, cycle the bike route for me, and I'll be waiting here for the marathon?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, right. I'll tag you in when we get there. So so that's newbies for any race, but for Ironman Maryland specific, from your bike to the mount line is you're running through grass through a field, but it's a little bit of a run. What I actually suggest, because in the around that time of year, it's very dewy in the morning and things like that, and sometimes we have rain in the days leading up, so the grass can be quite wet and even a little muddy, is carry your shoes. A lot of
brilliant.
people put their shoes on in the tent and then they have to run 50, 60 yards through the wet grass in shoes. You get your cleats all packed with mud. It's harder to get into your shoes. Um, you're not doing a flying mount, right? This isn't for the pros kind of a thing. So carry your shoes. You're going to go past the line. It'll take you 15 seconds to put them on, but you'll get there so much more efficiently.
Yeah, no, brilliant. I like that, and that is key. My top tip for guys who are doing this as well, and I talk about in the video as well. A lot of people will have transition bag anxiety. Did I put my shades in? Did I put my visor in? Did it? I get people to lay it out and take a photograph of what
Yep.
they've in there, and then sort of like if they sort of they go like, oh, like they'll have that moment of panic. Did I put it in? And go, you can look on your phone. Yes, my cleats are in my blue bag. I am okay. I can sleep
And
again.
the other piece to that is, if they realize they forgot something, just remember you can access your bag on race morning. So
Brilliant.
if you forgot something or you want to add your nutrition or anything like that, race morning, you can get into it and put anything in it you want.
It's a single transition as well as key, isn't it? Is it?
It's a single transition, but the bags are in two different locations depending on the flow in and out from the two courses.
Okay, fantastic. Great. All right. Any last minute T1 tips?
Have fun And try not to overthink things. Put in your bag what you need only and not what you think or this or that, because then you'll stand there confused and you know,
Yeah, you
like
don't want to be
you don't
choosing
have
the
to be
pink and the blue socks. You got to go like it's just one pair of socks.
right. And you don't, the trick to Ironman is you don't have to be fast in transition, but you have to be diligent.
Yes, smooth and controlled. I like.
Yes.
Fantastic. Right, we're gonna move on. And by the way, my editor is gonna kill me because I did when just before we start the swim, I was meant to give a pause so she can actually slot in. We have this kind of cool 3D video.
Ah,
So there was probably the swim one was probably put in just in the middle of one of our sentences. But this time, dear editor, I remembered
dramatic pause.
dramatic pause, and we'll be right back after this cool 3D video of the course. And we're back. But actually, before we go on to the course, again, I should remember my slides. I hope you're enjoying the video. Tim is what he doesn't know about the Ironman Maryland is not worth knowing. So therefore, make sure you check out his website as well. I believe he might be taking on people still as an again a super coach as well, knows it inside out for this race and others. I'd be only happy, delighted if you check out, you're enjoying the channel, that you subscribe, give it a thumbs up if you're enjoying it, and you'll find out I think we've already given you around 4 or 5 genius tips, and there's more to come. So it's worth a thumbs up. But now onto that bike course, which it's not very hilly, Tim, which we like. You want to talk to us
Yeah,
through the bike course?
talking about hilly years ago, we actually had a spot that we marked the hill because it was a bridge that went over a little creek and it rose about 4 feet. Um, so what's that, 1.25 meters roughly for our metric contingent. Yeah, so they marked it the hill as like a big joke. Ironman
Probably call it a
Maryland.
Heartbreak Hill as well. You know, you always need a Heartbreak Hill on a bike course.
That's right. Yeah, Ironman Maryland is probably the flattest bike course on the Ironman circuit. Um, it is realistically less than 100 meters, 300 feet of elevation gain throughout the entire course. Um, it is it is an open course. It's not closed to traffic, but it is a very low traffic course. And the one section that has the most traffic, which still isn't a whole lot, there is a dedicated bike lane that has rumble strips separating it from the road surface.
Fantastic.
Um, and we also have beautiful, smooth tarmac here. The pavement here is great. It is 90 to 90% butter smooth.
And are there any technical parts on this course? As in, it looks like there's not. Is there any 90-degree turns or that people need to be aware of? Or
Yeah, so at the completion of your second loop, so the way our course works is you come out from the river and you make your way out to this large loop. Well, I guess you could call it a loop, but it's our loop. And you'll do the loop 2 times and then you'll head back to transition. At the completion of your second loop, which is right around, I want to say 103 miles, you have to make a sharp turn. It's a little more than 90 degree. It's a little more acute than 90 degrees,
yeah.
but it is a left turn. You're coming from the right side of the road, so you have the entire width of the road, and we have police and volunteers there to both direct and to kind of woe people down coming in.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And I presume, like, okay, it's flat. Seems to be a very obvious question to ask, but road bike or TT bike, if you have it,
TT TT bike, disc wheel. The
all
only
the
real
trimmings.
question, yeah, the only real question to ask here is front wheel depth, because depending on someone's fit position or depending on their comfort on the bike, like when I race out here, I run a 100 millimeter front wheel and I run a disc wheel and stay in aero all day. But it is breezy. The area has its own kind of ecosystem, so you get some winds and stuff. So maybe a little shallower front wheel if you're concerned about that. But yeah, get as aero as you can. Bring all the goodies.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is when it does look like the course to kind of we get the return on that disc wheel investment, isn't it?
That's
Um,
it.
cool. Is there anything else like surprising or unusual that people should keep an eye out for on the bike course? As I said, just nice aero, keep on top of your nutrition, etc. Butter
Yeah,
smooth
one
roads.
one
I'm sold.
one thing of note that's slightly different is our special needs location. Um, Usually special needs right around 56 miles, right? Because most courses will be 2 loops. And so right at the completion of the first loop, they'll have it. It's the same thing here, but we have to get out to our loop. So our special needs is actually right around mile 59. So
Okay.
it's a touch further than most. When you come through the first time, that is a full service aid station that you'll get to use. But then when you come back around the second time, that's when it will become special needs.
Oh, cool. Excellent. Brilliant. Good to know. And we will talk about the aid stations now. In terms of the cutoff times for people nervous about it, swim plus T1 plus bike, you've got 10 hours to get it done. But as
Yep.
they're butter smooth roads, you're on the you're fueling well, you're keeping an eye on the wind and all the rest, and keeping nice, getting nice and narrow shouldn't be a problem. Okay, we
One
will
thing,
talk.
one other thing of note is there's a lot of the course is very exposed, so it's a wildlife refuge area. It's very flat, so there's not a lot of shade. There's a lot of wind and exposure. So um, while it's the fall and it's not usually that hot, make sure to hydrate more than you normally would and things like that because you're not going to feel it, but you are going to be sweating more and working harder than maybe you think you are because of the exposure level.
Excellent. No, great tip. And again, we'll talk a little bit about nutrition, but it's key to making sure to keep on top of hydration and fueling all day long. Like there's a danger I can almost see in a coach, and for myself, I know I'd be on this bike course and you'd be flying along and you forget about nutrition, especially in the second loop. That's going
Yeah.
to set you up for a big, big bonk because not only are you fueling to finish the bike, you're also fueling for your upcoming marathon. So, yes, enjoy those smooth roads, but also be thinking about the other type of butter and getting some fuel into you because you will need it to keep yourself going. Butter on the
That's right.
outside, butter on the inside. Hey,
Mm,
that could be
smooth
a
operator.
t-shirt. Brilliant. Okay, so we're back to the same area. Oh, before we actually go through that again, there's we've mentioned aid stations, and these are and nutrition, and this is a decent segue that it is massively important about that you know how to handle an aid station. I'm gonna ask Tim about aid station in a second, but I'm gonna hammer home a key point which I like to get across in all of my videos. At the start here, you have the thing called a bottle toss, and they're called a last chance trash or rubbish for us Europeans. You can only ditch empty bottles, wrappers, banana peels, whatever in between here. And there's two things that will happen if you don't. One, you'll become a dick. And two, you will actually, if you're spotted by a marshal, you will get DQ'd and rightly so, because you're littering in a beautiful in as a guest in an area that has been good enough to put on an Ironman race for you. So please, please, please be very aware. This is one of the dumbest reasons to get DQ'd. If you're just rude and don't respect and be a good ambassador for a sport and only litter in between these two, because it means Ironman can come along with their big machiney things and clean it up, and we're all gone. It's as if we were never there. We leave only footprints. We take only pictures. Please do remember that. Aid stations. Coach Tim, do you want to talk through? Was it how they're set up in Maryland? Is it standard,
Yep.
water, mortal, etc.?
Yep. Standard operating procedure, water, mortal, food, gels, and then it repeats in reverse on the back half. So if you miss a water bottle or a mortal bottle in the first half of the aid station, you have a second opportunity on the back half. Um, as you and I were talking before we actually started the video, one of the keys to being successful in an aid station is being deliberate in what you're doing. Um, Taking a bottle from someone that is stationary while you are moving is a complicated task, no matter how many times you practiced it. There's tons of videos of pros dropping bottle, 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 bottle. It's not that easy. But there are some things you can do to make it easier. The first one is depending on what you need, whether it's water or mortal or whatever it is call it out verbally, loudly, and I also am very specific in making eye contact and pointing at the volunteer that I plan on working with because they're watching a mass of people coming in. It's very hectic for them if you've ever volunteered at an aid station. So I'm going to point to them, I'm going to yell water, and they're going to make an attempt to get it to me. And then I'm going to slow down the appropriate amount to make the handoff. If you are not comfortable doing that, that's okay. Maybe half the field is going to take them while moving, so don't sweat that at all. But what you don't want to do is turn it into an unsafe situation. So if you're planning on take whatever you're planning on taking, call it out so they know, but make sure that you go all the way through the aid station and then pull off to the side. If you stop at the beginning, you're likely to get hit from behind or put a volunteer in a dangerous situation. And the last thing we want is an unwanted visit to the hospital.
Yeah. And again, there's massively important as well. There's again, and they're not only communicating with the volunteers, they're communicating with your fellow racers. As in, like I've seen scenarios where guys just suddenly, oh, there's a surprise, there's an aid station. No, do you know what the aid stations are? And you should write this down the stem of your bike so therefore you know when they're coming. And there's lots of signs coming up. It's in aid station 500 meters. And then if you're going to plan to get yourself in a position and then start talking to someone. There's no harm. No one's going to think you're rude if you're going. I'm going inside. I'm going in. I'm going for water. I'm going for water. They know that you're going to come across. They'll go around you, and then also when you're coming out, as in I'm coming out, and all the rest. People can adjust. What they can't adjust is the sudden rapid hopping from right into left, and then suddenly it's sort of like that. Aid stations are absolutely key to our kind of sport, but they're also the high risk situation, as Tim correctly pointed out. There's volunteers trying to interact with you. As there's bottles can be chucked, things can get dropped. There's a lot of moving parts. Learn how to note in navigate them and was it get in and get out carefully. It'll be absolutely perfect. It will actually be massively important for your day. And just on that, I do have a video that again, Tim has stolen some of my thunder. He's already called out some of
I'm
my tips on
sorry.
this. No, it's good. I mean, you watch my video, or like, I hope you like
Yeah,
the comment.
definitely.
But and also, as I say to guys as well, don't be afraid of actually trying to practice this. Like you practice your transitions, you practice getting in and out of your wetsuit, you practice doing your brick runs. Get your friend out with a bottle, standing there, and just learn how easy it is to what speed you need to be, or how it feels like grabbing a bottle and then putting in your bottle cage. And that you just have to do that 4 or 5 times, and you go, actually, that's not bad. I'm comfortable enough to do it in a day. Or as Tim correctly said, I'm just not comfortable. Get to the end, get the volunteer, take it off and do it stationary. Any other last minute tips on the aid stations, Tim?
One last piece about ours. Every aid station has a bathroom at Ironman Maryland, and every bike aid station also has a bike rack. So you can get off, rack your bike, and use the bathroom. Sometimes a volunteer will hold it if it's not busy, but all of them have aid stations or restrooms, and all of them have bike racks to rack your bike if you need to get off.
It's such the VIP experience. Would you stop?
We do it different at Maryland, I'm telling you.
I'm just going for the foot massages after this is going to be incredible.
That's
And
it.
by the way, if it's like, and another key thing, and I do say it in this video, make sure you thank volunteers. I can't hammer home enough the point. These guys have given up their time just because either they're part of our sport, they're part of our community, or they're friends of it, and they're giving it up for, and they're not getting paid by Ironman, but they're there. And so you turn around and big smile, thank you, you've made my day. That makes their day. And if you think about that, it doesn't matter if they're going to be standing there for 7 hours. Imagine like every second person smiled and thanked them. Like it helps. And like they'll be going to their friends going, I had such a good fun. Like, so remember,
And if you're coming to Maryland because you're watching this video, when you hit the mile 100 aid station, you tell them that Coach Tim told you to say hi because that aid station is staffed by my local triathlon club.
and that's it. And like I like that. And again, and then we can keep a counter of how many times they said hi just because of the
That's right. And you get the VIP treatment if you name drop me there. That's where they got the good stuff.
video. It comes out of bottles with bubbly. Not
That's it.
none of this mortal hydration anymore. It's Dom Perignon. That's 100. Fantastic. Love it. Okay, cool. So we've finished off our bike and now we're back into the same transition and it's transition two, which as we correctly pointed out, the run bag is your red bag. Where will they find this bag and is it on the floor again or how's it set up for this one?
It'll be on the ground, same situation where it'll be where you left it. But it will be on the opposite side of the changing tents because you'll come back in from the bike. But you will rack your bike. Um, if we have enough volunteers, we do have bike catchers, but it depends on how many volunteers we get. We had them this past year, so you got that full VIP pro experience. But after your bike is out of your hands and you're heading towards the changing tent, you'll enter a corral, a chute, and they'll be right there on your right in the exact same location you left it, and they'll be about 25 yards from the changing tent.
Fantastic. And it's a short, is it a long run into, was it T2 or is it quick in and out?
It's definitely longer than T1 because you have to run past all the bikes that have been racked through the field. So it's substantially longer, but it's still not that long. It's much shorter than most of the other races I've been to here in the States.
Fantastic. Cool. All right. Your top T2 tip for Ironman in general and for Ironman Maryland.
Um, fluids, fluids quickly. It's you're getting off the bike. It's very easy to want to rush and get out because you've made it to the run and you're comfortable on your feet and now you just have to finish this thing. Um, so I highly suggest making sure that you're drinking. I will pull my bottle off of my bike and take it with me into the tent because I can just put it in the bag when I'm done, um, and not lose it if it's one that you like. And then the other thing for Maryland is if you're someone that is visually challenged, part of the run course can get a little dark. There's one spot, so if you have a bit of low light trouble, then throwing a headlamp in there can be a very welcome and helpful thing.
Fantastic. Awesome. I'll throw in my 2 cents as well. What on our squad, we have a little phrase has said, and it says, nothing good happens in T2.
That's
Because
right.
we see like people sit down and they start stretching their hamstrings, or thinking about the fact they've got to run a marathon now and all the rest. And we have the kind of the principle: you get in, you rack your bike, you take off your helmet, and you get your runners on, and everything else you can do as you move. As in, so
That's
therefore, you
right.
have your baseball cap or your visor, and you have your sunglasses and your gel wrapped in there. So you've got your runners on, you're moving because
Yep.
the time you get your visor on, you get your sunnies on, and you're eating the gel, you probably could have covered up to like 500 meters. So that's time you've already banked. So
Yep.
get in, get out, and start moving. And because the run course looks great and all the rest. And as I said, you want to get the job done, sit down, have a cold beer. All
Yep.
right. Any other last minute tips on T2?
Now our T2 is pretty simple.
Nice. Okay. Now, editor, I'm pausing again because we're going to have a short little video of the really cool Ironman Maryland course. And then we'll be right back after this 30-second interlude. Right. And we're back. Seamless. So,
Like you've done it before.
yeah. I mean, like, I'm an absolute pro at this. Okay, cool. The run course, Tim, again, looks like you just don't have any hills in Maryland, which I like. Do you want to talk through what people expect on the 3 loop course? Actually, 3 loops
But
unusual, isn't it?
don't say we don't have hills. We also had the most challenging 70.3 in the world here.
Oh, which I'll have to interview on that one as well.
Yeah, yeah, but it's a now defunct race called Savage Man. There was almost 7,000 feet of climbing on the bike course.
Oh, I don't like that. That's why. That's
Yeah,
why you
so
hired
we got it
the
all here.
tallest mountain we have in Ireland.
But yeah, our course is basically two legs. When you leave the transition tent, you'll immediately turn right and you'll head down the lower part of this map here. Um,
Okay.
and as you come down to the end here at the lowest point of the map, that is the party corner. You will absolutely love it. The
Nice.
turnaround is right in front of our local brewery and bar that they do the turnaround as a keg pyramid. There's a DJ, there's a separate Ironman announcer down there. Um, it's the hot spot to be.
Okay, a keg pyramid. We'll have to go back. I
Yeah.
need that. I need to add that in as a picture.
We got the keg pyramid. And the cool thing is, like some people, it's a multi-loop course. And so for some people, they like it, some people they don't. The cool thing is, with it being looped, is you'll actually go through that area 4 times.
Nice.
So and it's the last thing you see before the finish as well. So it's like it's really good to come through there, and it pumps your spirits up. There's a couple hundred people on the sidewalk. Like it's a cool place to be.
You're not
Um,
distracted and just go, look, I'll just stick with the keg pyramid here. Like, bring the finish
yeah,
line to
yeah, I
me.
know, right? Just don't lay down in the middle of the road. Someone might trip on you.
Cool. And the in terms of its road surface, is it all on concrete, or is there a mixture of surfaces, or what can people expect?
Yeah, it's mostly tarmac pavement. There is one spot when you first turn right out of the changing tents and you're heading down through the park by where your red dot is.
Yeah.
That little section is gravel, but it's well groomed, not overly complicated. And then towards this T here on the bottom right, where there's that little green box right there, a little to the right of your marker.
Mm.
Um, nope, the other way towards the finish line. Yep,
Yeah.
right in this area. Um, if you come to any of my talks during race week, we actually go out and look at it. But
Nice.
the road there has a dome to it for drainage. So at the very edges of the road, it can be just enough to irritate your ankles, your knees, your hips because you're tired, your form's breaking down and things like that. So I always advise the athletes to run as close to the middle of the road as possible. The course is laid out, the run course is completely closed to traffic, and you're allowed to use the entire road surface. So staying as close to the center of the lane as you can, just no need to add any aches and pains. There's already plenty in an Ironman.
That's it. Those legs are already screaming at you, and you're already telling lies to them. Just get me to the finish line, and we'll never do this again. As I
That
promise, I'll sell that bike. We'll go back
yeah,
to
and
golf.
then you're waiting in line to register tomorrow.
Yeah, there's an early discount. I saved
That's
$50.
right.
I'll talk to the partner later about it. We'll discuss it. I know I
And
told her I was just doing the one, or him doing the one.
ask forgiveness and not permission, right?
That's the one. Cool. All right. Is there anything else specific that any shout outs you'd have about the run course? Anything else?
Yeah, so our run course is extremely spectator friendly. Our Ironman tent village is right in that same area by where the road, where the green box there is.
Yeah.
And there's also a big field there, so it's where a lot of the spectators and families congregate because from there you will see your athletes 7 times during the run.
Oh yeah. You did.
And it's only about 150-yard walk to the grandstands of the finish line.
Yeah.
So you can watch them 7 times, and then the last time they come by you to go up to the keg pyramid turnaround, you can then walk over to the finish and catch them at the finish line as well. So you don't, as a spectator, they don't have to sacrifice, how often they get to see you.
Fantastic. That does sound, it reminds me of the first Ironman I did in Frankfurt. And there was a spot like that, as in where if you stood there, you'd see me pass 8 times.
Yeah,
Except the girlfriend at the time, she is being Irish, decided to start drinking with all the German guys. So each
of
lap she
course.
passed, I could see her getting more and more drunk.
She's
And
leaning further and further away.
she was tilted. She was yielding to starboard a little, and by lap 6 and 7, she completely was asleep on an Irish flag, and I suppose didn't even see me finish. So again, it's always brilliant to have a nice lap point, but also remember keep your wits about you just until after, and then everyone can go for a beer. Um,
That is right. The brewery will be open.
and everyone gets a free go in the keg stand. I hope,
Yeah,
the
you
keg
got it.
pyramid.
And
Cool.
also at that area, they'll have food vendors, food trucks, stuff like that. So if you got people that are spectating, they'll have food options, or they can walk up to that turnaround area, which is about a third of a mile, and there's restaurants and stuff there as well.
Fantastic, because it's a long day for spectators as well, and it's great to give them an option as well because it's quite anxious. You're going like, especially if it's your first, they want to make sure they see you and give you a shout out, but also it's going to be a 12, 13, 14 hour day for them too if they're at the swim start. So having
Yeah,
them, this is a really good spot to actually see me. Make sure you keep you was it yourself fueled and the kids fueled, etc.
that's right.
Because You don't want to turn up and you're
Don't,
complaining of sore legs and they haven't fed for the last, and you're full of energy gels.
yeah, don't forget, it's just as long and hard of a day for the spectator as it is the athlete. They get up with you. They're there, they don't go to bed until after you, and they're trying to do the math and figure out where to be all day. And if you've ever spectated one, it is
Hard
draining. I
work.
would much rather toe the line than than chase people around all day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, and the fear of not seeing you is terrible. But that's brilliant spectator advice. Anything else on the run course, mate?
No, the otherwise it's pretty good. Our run special needs is a little different at Maryland in that you will pass it 6 times during the run. Because it's inside of the park, it'll be right by where transition is, right by the changing tents. So you'll pass it 6 times. You can choose when you take it. So it's not just a mandatory at the halfway point like a lot of races are, but you only get to access it once. So I tell people don't access it early unless it's absolutely necessary because once you do, it's gone. But you have a lot of flexibility on when you can choose to take it.
No, fabulous. Look, I should have known. You just do things differently in Maryland, but doing a little bit better, I think.
We try our best.
No, it sounds phenomenal. And just a quick one as well in terms of aid stations. Again, the don't litter rule applies as kind of just because you're not on your bike and you're not going at whatever 20 miles an hour. Again, just litter within this sort of the area. There's water, mortal hydration, fuel, well, typically bananas, pretzels, that sort of stuff.
Chicken broth
Coke,
after dark.
yeah. Coke is a little bit of a superpower at that stage. If you're really your legs are really flagging, that's how I get my guys drink Coke
Yep.
on the second or the third loop as well if you're running out.
Yep.
Um, do you remember what the flavor is for the mortal hydration on the bike and the run? People always ask this. Is it margarita and berry? Is that right?
Yep. Yep. That's what it was this past year. I'm assuming it'll be the same, but obviously we haven't heard. I haven't heard yet. Yes, that's what it was for this past year.
Yeah, cool. Alrighty. Any last minute tips for the run course?
Yeah, much like you were talking about thanking the volunteers, the way our run course sets up, you go back and forth across people so many times. So I've always been a huge proponent of even if you're not having a good day, like being a positive influence on others, right? Hey, you got this, good job, X, Y, because you're going to see them so many times. And everybody who's done Ironman, or if you haven't yet, this is just to let you know, there will be tough times on the run. It doesn't matter if you're an 8 hour athlete or a 16-hour athlete, there will be tough times on the run. But they're temporary. So what I've found is if I cheerlead other people, I've had times where when I'm in my tough moments, they then cheerleaded me back and it was able to reset me and keep me going. Um, and much like we were talking about in the swim corral, half the time you end up with friends forever on this stuff, you know. So
Yeah.
be aware, be friendly.
Yeah, no,
In your life.
absolutely. And positive energy is infectious. As I said, like you can have great crack with again, and you'll see people's flags, you'll see on the numbers, you'll see their names, and it I still get a shock when someone calls my name and they haven't seen them before. I've kind of forgot it's blazing on my line, but it also lit me. So Steve, don't worry, you got this. And I went, yeah, yeah, abs. But you're right. So maybe next time on my number, I'm just going to put sexy. As in, so a load of people just call me sexy the entire time. That's definitely going to put a pep in my step. Sexy, you got this. Brilliant.
Well, then just make sure you race on April Fool's Day. You'll be fine.
Definitely. Okay, cool. So that's the run course. And again, in terms of getting it all done, swim, transition one, bike, and transition two, and getting energy fuel from the keg pyramid and the wonderful supporters on the run, you've got 16 and a half hours to get it done. So, and when you
No,
do,
we're a 17-hour race.
oh, sorry, that again, typo,
Yep.
17
Yep.
hours.
We are a 17-hour race.
Fantastic. See, this is why we ask the experts, and
More time at the keg pyramid.
that's it. As I said, we're just maximizing that all that the goodness that Maryland has to give you.
That's
Um,
it.
this is the finish line, as you can see. There's people already lining up. That looks like that will be a nice long run in. Get ready for your finish line poses. Know what you look out for your friends in the crowd and all the rest. And don't do the daft thing. As in when you go over the line, I see loads of people that go put down and they're pressing their Garmin. Ironman will
Yep,
give you your time. What
that's
that will do
right.
is you'll have a picture of the top of your head looking at what you want to do is you want to was it aeroplane it, you want to dab it, you want to whatever you yeah, I always do this to kind of keep myself mentally alert. What am I going to do going to the finish line? You think about it for the last 2 kilometers because it just kind of mimics, it takes away from what happening in my legs. And I go, okay, yeah, well, maybe I'm going to just, I'm going to do a bunny hop down. I don't know. And I'm going to high five people and just make sure you get a cool finish line picture. You really deserve
That's right.
this. Any kind of last minute tips for a finish line from yourself, Tim?
Yeah, like you're talking about with the finish line celebration. Um, Ironman, like race day is a celebration of the journey and training, right? Like the training's the hard part, getting there healthy, getting there fit. The months or for some people years of prep. Um, Make sure to remember that on race day, right? Like we take it serious, we train hard, we race hard, we're fueling, we're trying to nail every detail. Um, but Iron Man will expose any flaw, any weakness. Sometimes you just have a bad day. Sometimes there's things out of your control. So it's good to keep a 20,000 foot view sometimes when it's not going that way because it is a privilege to be able to do these things and to be able to race. There are a lot of people that wish they could and can't. So take that in, enjoy the finish line experience, make friends, thank volunteers, high five the kids with the cool signs on the sides. One thing we do that's different here that you'll love as an athlete is we have kids from the local elementary schools write good luck letters and put them in the athlete packets.
Fantastic.
And we have people send their medals to the kids or go into the class if they're staying and meet the kids or send things to the schools. Um, so any of those personal and personable touches, man, take them all in because it's an experience to get to do this stuff for sure.
Yeah, and you know what as well, again, as you rightly point out, Tim, like there's tough moments. And again, I've done whatever 10 plus Ironman, and there's always a couple of times on the run where it feels like it's all going asunder. But like moments like that, just you dig into your mental game. You go like, okay, why am I doing this? Who am I doing this for? That letter that kid wrote me, as I said, he said I was like that's something that will give you the metaphorical kick up your backside and get your legs moving again. Um, so these are the things you need to dig in, and that's brilliant. I love that letter thing. I'm getting a bit,
Yeah, we
oh,
have
there's,
people
there's
that
something
keep
in my
coming
eye.
back we have people that keep coming back every year just to keep getting a collection of letters because it's unique.
No, it's unbelievable. Just one last thing I think about as well in the finish line as well. You've traveled 140.45 miles and all the rest. Do not get into a sprint at the finish line because all you're doing there is you're messing up someone else's finisher photograph. You're not gonna if you finish 5 seconds, 10 seconds faster than all the rest, unless you're going for the win, don't bother. Give the other athletes a bit of respect when going out. Make sure you get a bit of leeway and all the rest. And if it means you have to slow down and wait and then just actually proudly jog up that finish line, do it because you'll enjoy that moment. And as Tim said, this is your moment, as in like, do not sprint it, milk it. For God's sake, this is. I remember every single one of my Ironman red carpets, even on the bad days. As in, there's no such thing as you're either very happy to get there or you're elated because you've hit a target. But make sure you bake in that memory, bake in that literally that kind of mental photograph where you can go, you know what? Nothing can take this away from me.
Yeah, and like Ironman Maryland specifically is very first timer friendly, and about half of our field is first timers every year. And so, to what you're talking about, what I tell them is you only get one first. So do remember it, right? Take the time to take it in.
And it's something I say, my guys are my first timers, and it sounds daft. And I go like, when he last, I said, this day will go a lot faster than you think. You go, really? I said, well, it will because if you don't take mental snapshots when you're standing in the corral or whatever, like when as I said in Frankfurt for me, I looked up and there was hot air balloons and helicopters and la la la, and I took that was my picture before the swim, and then like I remember going through certain parts of the course, I went on the bike course, instead of just looking at my bike computer and my wheel, I went, I'm remembering that. Look at the faces of those volunteers. They're having the time of their lives. High-fiving kids. Literally sort of go, remember this. This has to be your snapshot. So because suddenly it's done. And you go, I don't, and it, like get a lot of athletes. I said, I don't remember an awful lot. And so make sure you do take those mental snapshots. It's key.
That's right.
Cool. Alrighty. So some other considerations, before we talk a little bit about the race day logistics itself. Um, Self and Tim have mentioned race day nutrition, about how key it is. We could talk all day long on that. There's a video in the comments below. I'll give you high level info on the how to do how to work out your strategy, when to carry your food, how to take it, etc. A lot of people will be traveling to was it Maryland, to take advantage of all these wonderful perks and VIP experiences. There's a list here: how to
That's
pack
right.
your bag, how to kind of, and a beginner checklist, and then the last 2 weeks is the time when myself and Tim earn our money as coaches, when we have our athletes panicking, saying that it's all going wrong because I haven't cycled for 100 miles to this weekend.
That's right.
I think I'm getting the flu and la la la. It's taper madness. That video will reassure you a little bit, but also make
Yeah.
sure you talk to your coach and all the rest and your friends about it. And then last minute tips. Make sure you, what you call it, you read the athlete briefing. Things can change, as I said, as Tim correctly pointed out. The flow of the swim might, because these guys, they take into account all the variables. Book a bike in for service. Recheck your logistics, as in, like, do you have all your chargers, etc. Watch this video again. Attend one of Tim's was it talks. Attend the briefing. Make sure you prepare yourself, and because it's all in the last few days are just about minimizing stress. You've done the training. Time to turn up like a coiled spring.
That's
Um, Right, race day venue on
it.
Thursday and Friday. What's your top tips for Ironman Maryland itself in terms of it? You can register on the Thursday. What's
Yep.
your feedback to people?
So, obviously, I'm a big proponent of, especially if you're traveling, long ways, getting on an airplane, sitting in a car for hours, whatever. Get to the venue as early as you reasonably can, um, because you want, if you sit in a plane, or fly on a plane, sit in a car, like your hips tighten up, your back tightens up, all these things happen. So the sooner you can get there, the better, in terms of acclimating and getting readjusted. Um, as far as the schedule goes, Thursday is where it's at Ironman Maryland. Um, there is on here, it says the Become One First Time Ironman Clinic that runs from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. There is no other race on the Ironman circuit that does that. It says Become One, and you think it's the normal Ironman briefing. It's different. It's something we've been doing there since 2017. And what it is it's a rotating clinic. It only takes about 30 to 40 minutes. It's not 3 hours long as it says, but we just keep repeating it over and over so people can come and go as fits. And we meet at transition. We walk through the swim start, the swim exit, where the corrals are going to be, where you're going to put your bags, how changing tents work, how to get from here to your bike. We cover all of the details. We walk the grounds and we hit all the logistical points that are different in Ironman from other races, right? Because you're going in and out of here, you have bags over here. Um, and that's led by me. We usually have, this past year, we had 350 people come through it. So we get a pretty good show out of it. And I'm there the entire time, and then I hang out a little bit longer, and I'll just answer questions and keep myself available. So it's very specific to Maryland, and it's different than anything else that's happening anywhere else. So it's very cool. It's the first thing that we ever put on there. Now we're up to 11 events throughout the race week, but that's still the first one.
Fabulous. You really do love your bells and whistles in Maryland. As on
Uh,
hats off. Fair play,
yeah,
lads.
we're not I tell people we're not a college town, we're not a vacation destination. It's a blue collar waterman's town. Um, and so it's very welcoming, it's very warm and encouraging. And so the vibe is different. It's like you're doing an event that's being put on by your friends as opposed to doing a big commercial experience. And so we add all kinds of extras to just kind of continue to enhance that.
Ah, that's awesome. Love it. Absolutely love to hear that. There's also practice swim on the Friday, and then do you recommend people take advantage of that?
Yeah, so yes, our swim is a little different in that the practice swim is the only time that you can get on the swim course. Um, and that's because the swim course is by a marina, so we don't have people go out during the week because we need the watermen, the fishermen, and all to be able to get in and out. But it is a public body of water that you can swim in at any time, which is different from a lot of races, especially here in the US. Um, but the practice swim area is about 200 yards away from the actual race course, so you can get in from the park, swim any day. But the actual practice swim on the schedule is on the course, and you do need to bring your timing chip if you're going to do it because we track people going in the water to make sure that they come out.
Ah, okay. Is the timing chip not picked up at 9 a.m. though, or?
You can, or you can pick it up on Thursday.
Oh, perfect, perfect. So you just
When
say
you
to the
pick,
guy, yeah,
yep,
yeah,
when you
sorry,
get your
yeah, 9
packet.
a.m. to 5 p.m., which is different actually, because most timing chips in other races, you only get them when you check in your bike.
Right. No, we do ours at packet pickup.
Fantastic, cool. That's a really good info. Yeah, okay, brilliant. So if you want to do the good bit, another great tip, if you want to do the practice swim, make sure you get the timing pickup, get your registration in early.
Yep. Yes.
Cool. And then we have our mandatory bike check-in and the bag check-in. That's again is what Tim was talking about earlier. When you go and you lay out your blue and your red bags in your where you were in a location where you will know where to pick them up as you kind of do your transitions. Fantastic. What's the finish line magic hour? I haven't heard about that before.
Yeah, so that's something new that Ironman started this year. Usually they don't let anybody in finish shoots and stuff when they're putting everything up. They have 1 hour where they basically stop work, everybody go in, take your families, get your photos in the shoot and stuff with all the backdrops. And
Nice.
since you can't have them in when you finish and stuff like that, it allows you the opportunity to get in there and include your family or your friends or the people who can't get in when security's set up. So that's something new that they did this year.
That's a nice touch actually, because it is one thing that again, it's another silly reason to get DQ'd if you don't know the rule. But like, if you try to run up the finish chute with if you see your kid and you take him and put him on your shoulders or run him up, you're DQ'd because there was
Yep.
incidents in past where people were sprinting with their kid and got knocked over, yada yada. But that's very clever. And also, what I like about it is it ties back into what we are talking about being mentally tough on the day. If you can visualize the finish line shoot and you visualize the finish line shoot where you took pictures with your family and said, I'm going to make it here tomorrow. Was it on? Sorry, on Saturday. I'm going to make it here, and you'll meet me here at the end of it, and all the rest. Like that's powerful. That's definitely
Yeah.
powerful. Cool.
Yep.
Well done, Iron Man. Or was that a Maryland idea? Come on, you can tell us.
Uh, I know I don't know if it originated with Maryland, but I know they did it afterwards at other races. So I'm not sure if we started it or if it started before us, but I know it has happened since.
You guys have previous. Of course, it was a good idea, and it's made spectators. Of course, it was your idea.
I'm not claiming it because I can't confirm it.
Oh, look at that. That's a very politically correct answer. Okay, good.
That's right.
It was definitely Tim's idea. Alrighty. Um, it's a Saturday day. Actually, sorry, I should have picked it up. It's a Saturday race day. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Transition opens at 5 a.m. and it closes at 6:30, with you guys all off at 6:40. Your last minute tips for people prepping on the race morning. What's your top tip there, mate?
Yeah. One, your sleep on Thursday night is going to be your critical night of sleep because you're not going to sleep on Friday because you're going to be anxious, you're going to be amped up, you're going to be ready to do this thing. That's okay. There's going to be 2,000 other people just like you that aren't going to get good sleep on Friday night, so don't stress about it. Get up early enough to eat. 2 to 3 hours beforehand. Don't try to cram your food in when you're heading to the venue an hour beforehand, right? Because you need a little time for your stomach to settle. And then, contrary to other races where I usually tell people there's no need to be there early, right? Get there, that's a waste of time. How many times are you gonna look at your stuff? For an Ironman, I suggest get there early, check all your stuff, and then just go sit down and relax. Like the last thing you want to do is be rushing as transitions getting ready to close. Um, it's very easy to get caught standing around in there looking at your stuff a bunch. I'm walking through transition race morning. If I see you standing at your bike for 10 minutes, I'm going to tell you to leave and get you out, but get your stuff done and then just go find your family or find your tri club, your group, your people, and just sit down, relax, kind of take stock of what's about to happen, get your heart rate down, so that you're not like kind of in a state of nervousness and panic as you're getting in the corrals for the swim.
Yeah, no, agreed. And again, I tell my guys just get there early as well, because there's a world of difference if you turn up and you find that your derailleur's been misaligned or whatever, and you've got an hour to fix it versus you've got 15 minutes to fix it, or
Yeah.
and something's happened, there's been a puncture. You can fix anything with the right amount of time. So get
And
there,
we
make sure everything's easy. Uh,
on that note, we have mechanics staff in transition, and then I'll be there at the entrance when transition opens, and I'm there until it closes, and I'm just walking around and keeping an eye. And I mean, I work part-time in a bike shop, so if the mechanics are full, just flag me down, and we'll get you squared away.
Okay, it almost goes without saying you'll have mechanics and everything. As in, the guys, it's just another bell and whistle. It's perfect.
That's it.
Um,
We went for all of them.
no, absolutely. Was it so yeah, and again, I agree with you as well. Don't stand around, like actually just get it set up and walk away from it. Start talking to people, and if you see other people that look nervous and all the rest, and you know something, don't be afraid of sharing it. As in, sort of go, look. By the way, no, you need to have try facing the bikes this way or put it in that gear just because it is a flat start. You don't need to be in little gear and all the rest. Talk to people, pass on the goodness, pass on the positivity. You're all gonna be racing yourselves in the end of the day. So enjoy it. Right. Okay, cool. So listen, last thing, I want to, on behalf of everyone who's watched the video, I want to say a massive thank you to Coach Tim. He has been an absolute fountain of knowledge. I knew from when I set up the interview, he is an Ironman Maryland legend. I've been blown away by all the stuff, extra stuff that I do. So thank you ever so much. If you have any last minute questions or are looking for a bloody good coach to get you ready for Ironman Maryland or other races, here is he is, as I said, he knows his stuff. I've had some great conversations with him about other coaching stuff. The guy's top notch. There's his email. Please do reach out and chat and contact him if you're looking for a coach to set yourself up for this race or just for the rest of the season. And Tim, thank you a million. That was brilliant. I really enjoyed that. Any last minute
Oh
words
man,
for the watchers, viewers?
it was fun, man. I really appreciate you reaching out to do this. I mean, like I said, it's basically what I get to do all race week, but do it in a somewhere where it actually be able to reach more people, which is awesome. But yeah, to those of you who saw this, if you're coming to Maryland, whether it's Eagleman or Ironman Maryland, I'll see you there. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video, share it with all of your friends, get it out there because whether it's Maryland or something else, there was a lot of good bits, between us today and a lot of things that'll translate across all races. But if 2025 is coming, get the training in. Remember to smile with the miles, man, and have fun while you're out here doing this stuff because it's a privilege.
Absolutely. And we'll call it there. Thanks again, Tim.
Thank you.